welcome back to my channel. My name is Andrea, and in today's video I'm going to share how I am organizing all of my Ambleside Online stuff, like our schedules, planners, books, things like that, as we prepare to start Ambleside Online Year 2 and Year 4 on Monday. So I'm just going to jump right in because I have all different kinds of things to share with you, but it all kind of stems around how I'm organizing my stuff. And this is not to say that I have all the answers or I have this all figured out. This is just how I think I'm going to be planning on using my stuff, and it might just kind of help spur some ideas for you, see if that might help you out in your planning journey. The first thing that I'm going to talk about is how I customize the Ambleside Online schedule to work for us. So if you go to the Ambleside Online website, you can click on whatever year your child is in. And if you click on the doc version of the schedule, you can then just make that your own Word document and add and delete things at will or switch around the schedule and do whatever you want to it. I have just made a few customization changes, taken out a book here or there, or added one in that we didn't get to last year, or I just thought that it might be a better fit with where we are in our lives right now. And so what I do with the full Ambleside Online schedule so that I have an easy way to reference it as I'm planning out each day is, so I'm using this new homeschool lesson planning notebook this year. I've never used this before. Last year I had a Clever Fox planner. I liked it, but whatever. I was open to trying something different. So this was recommended in some kind of Facebook group or something, so I thought I would try it out. And I've just done a few things. One is there's just a lot of pages in the front with habit trackers and stuff like that, and I really don't need 17 of them. So I used some of those pages in the front, and I just glued in our schedule. I just have 2 kids, so it's pretty simple. I was able to make room for all 3 terms of both my daughter and my son on here. And, if you had more than one kid and you wanted to do the same thing, you could just keep gluing over as you go each term, but I kind of like to be able to see all of them at once. And so I did this because then when I am flipping back and planning my day, it'd be a really easy reference point. Last year, I experimented with a couple of different scheduling tools for my kids. I have found that my kids are both the type that really thrive on knowing exactly what is expected of them during the day. If it's just me saying, okay, now let's do this next, and let's do this next, and let's do this next, they're always kind of like, is this it? Or what's going on after this, or what? So when they can just see before their day even starts what they're going to be doing, they do really well with that. And last year, let me show you. So this was also somebody else's idea that I copied and did on my own. They used just a regular spreadsheet to show their kids' schedules to them. And so I made my own version and would just be able to write out on each day what their readings were or what they were going to be working on. At the bottom, I would put if they had any activities to do or a particular chore that I wanted them to do, something like that. And so they saw the entire week at one time. Now, maybe even sometimes just a few days in advance. And I would clip this to their clipboard. They each have a clipboard like this, and it would reside on their desk for the rest of the week, and they would mark it off. Now, that worked really well, and I might go back to that again. However, I just noticed that their clipboards kept getting a little cluttery, because also what we use these clipboards, if we're working on recitation or hymns or things like that, that's what we keep in these clipboards, so that then they could easily pull it out, clip it on, and work on that, and then they keep it in here. The ones that they have completed or memorized, we keep in a 3-ring binder, and then we'll just reference those throughout the month just to kind of brush up on it and practice, make sure that we're not forgetting it. So what I didn't like about having their schedule on the clipboard was it was just an extra thing that was kind of making their clipboard all cluttery. So what I moved to that I'm going to try for this year, I've been trying it for a couple of weeks just in the schoolwork that we've been doing, is they have their own little field notebook that I just put on their desk. I clip off the top corner with every day that goes by so that they can just easily reference the day that we are on. I would just write the date at the top and what I wanted them to get done. And then I would just write in a different color if that was something that they were doing with me. So like with my daughter, I was doing these particular readings, things written in black. She could do pretty independently or like with me, but she's the one doing it. The red was everything that I have to do completely with her. That is how I'm organizing myself with the Ambleside Online schedule being in the front of my planner. If you do have questions about how to use this, I'm not the one to ask. I am not a good planner person because I have noticed about myself, I really just like to use my planner as a to-do list. I've been using this planner for several weeks, and I got it because I thought it might be good to have this way that you can kind of show your entire day, like by the hour. And I don't think that I like that, as it turns out. I think I just want to go back to using it as a to-do list. So I'll show you, I've kind of planned out, let me go to a week that's pretty empty here. So let me go a couple weeks out and I'll just show you what I have done with it to modify for me. I just made it to be a 5-day a week planner. It's a to-do list mostly for me, but then also I made spaces for my 2 kids here as well. And so I just kind of color coordinated it for this is me, this is Robert, this is Paige, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday with a thing of notes over here for just miscellaneous to-dos throughout the week. So I've been doing it like that for a couple of weeks, and I think I like that better than saying at 9 o'clock we're doing this and at 10 o'clock we're doing this. I'm like, once I make that plan, it bothers me when I don't do it perfectly. It's the same thing with like having all of these habit trackers. If I start a habit tracker and then I do drop something, it bothers me. It's like I can't sleep at night because I'm thinking about this habit tracker. So I just cover them up with a schedule. Okay, I don't have a habit tracker that I need to fill. It stresses me out. I do like that they have, book lists in the front here that you can keep track of all that, and that they're very long. One thing that I am using a progress tracker for this year is just the amount of days that I'm doing a full day of school with my kids, because I've never really tracked that before. And I have a suspicion that we're going way over the 180 days. And I kind of just want to see that visually on, we always get through all of our curriculum. We finish the math. We do all that stuff. And I'm kind of thinking that I probably should give my kids more just complete days off. I think that it might be good to track. Like, I know that most school districts say that you have to go to school for 180 days, and that's how long this habit tracker is. And so I just kind of wanted to see about how many days we average. I am liking this so far. It is taking some customization and some trial and error on how I'm using it, but it's working out really great. Let's talk about some organization stuff. I have seen some questions online about Ambleside Online's reading lists for like the Bible reading. And people ask, do you do that Bible reading as part of your Bible time? Or is that just treated like a separate reading? And what I have decided for this year is that the Bible reading that is on my daughter's list, and she is going to be year 2 this year, we are doing that Bible reading in our morning Bible time. And then my son, who is a year 4, he's doing his Bible reading on his own that he'll then come back and narrate to me. Next year, when my daughter is reading pretty much independently, I'll do the same thing with her. Well, we'll just do a separate little Bible time in the morning, but she'll have her own Bible study time where she needs to be reading the Bible on her own. But speaking of Bible reading, you guys will know from a previous video that I do like to have different Bibles. And each of my kids do have their own Bible. But I was reading on the Ambleside Online website, they were kind of making the case for using the King James Version in the Bible readings for Ambleside Online. And why that is because it's referenced so often throughout all of the literature that you are reading. And I noticed that too. The first time that I read through the King James Version during my annual reading plan, I was like, oh, that's that quote from Pilgrim's Progress, or that's that quote from whatever novel I was reading. Most of my notes in my King James Bible are annotations of like, this is exactly like what King Alfred did, or this is what Christian said. And anyway, so I knew that to be true from my own experience in reading the King James Bible. And so while I don't think it's important for our entire family to only ever read the King James Version, I am thinking that for their kind of schoolwork Bible reading, I got them their own King James Bibles. And I got them, here, I'll show you what I got. I'll show you this. For our morning time that we do together, how I organize that is I have this basket and it has in it a couple of things. It has my King James Bible that we'll be reading out of. And we also we don't follow every single word that goes along with this, but we have 3 of these, one for each of us, of Be Thou My Vision. It's a daily liturgy, so it takes us through singing some hymns and call to worship, and we'll usually do the catechism questions and also recite the creeds, like learning about the Nicene Creed and things like that. So it's been really a good structure to our morning Bible time. And then when it's time for the Bible reading in this, we just do my daughter's year 2 Bible reading together. And it's important that I'll read it or my son will read it. Even my daughter is starting to read just straight from the Bible on her own. And for my kids, I got them these little personal size King James versions. 1, because they fit so nicely in the basket. And 2, I love having my own personal size version of the Bible. I always have it in my purse. I was able to find these on Amazon, and I got them so I could distinguish whose is whose, but they're pretty much the same. And I do like that they are a reference Bible. There are references on each verse on where else you can find that referenced in the Bible. And so while I'm reading out of my King James Version, they can be reading out of theirs during just our morning Bible time. And like I said, they have their own Bibles in their rooms that are the different versions, like an ESV and things like that. That might be a little easier to read, but I think we'll just go ahead and get started on the King James. And so then it won't be painful to switch to it later. They'll just get used to it. Another thing that we do in the morning on something that I do to kind of organize our time with Ambleside Online, since they need to read a poem a day, I just keep them here in our morning basket, and they each will just read their poem for the day after our Bible time. That's how we do that. The final thing that I wanted to mention on just organization stuff and how I think I'm going to be doing it with my kids is they also each have their own basket with the books that they are currently reading for Ambleside Online. So this is my son's that sits on his desk. I also got these on Amazon. I got them because they're pretty. It has all of the books that he will be reading for Ambleside Online. What else? It has his little planner in here for the readings that he needs to do for the day. It's assumed that every day we're doing math, like for my son, let's say for year 4, every day, no matter what, he does math and Latin and Spanish, poem. I miss obviously Bible reading, stuff like that. But then mostly what I write on here are just the specific readings, like, oh, today you're reading the first chapter out of Poor Richard and this chapter out of, the Storybook of Science. And so then that's how we get through this basket. So this is just kept over by his desk to keep them out of the kind of family bookshelf so that they're not wandering off. Like, this is where they live. I have one for my daughter, and I also have one for myself. Like, these are the books that I'm currently studying. And I don't know, I have found that when it comes to my organization methods, I like just the bin method. I have a hard time keeping up with a lot of stuff. So if I just have like a bin where I know that it belongs, that's my favorite way of organizing things. So just keep it simple. So that's how I have everything organized for my kids with their baskets and their notebooks and things like that. Then I just have a common bookshelf that has all of my teacher manuals, our artist study and things like that are right here. Underneath here, being hidden with the whiteboard, is all of our construction papers and scissors and things like that that are not very pretty to look at. That's basically it for our organization. I will keep you updated on how it's working, if I'm changing anything. I have been using all of this as a method for the last several weeks as we've been doing just our summer routine school stuff. But next week we are getting started with our year 2, year 4 schedule and our readings and everything like that. Yeah, I'm excited. We're going to be getting started on things like Plutarch for the first time. So this will be a big year for all of us. I was thinking about how simple it used to be, when my son was in the first grade or kindergarten and my daughter was just happy to be sitting on my lap while I did it. I mean, I had like 3 things for my son total for his schoolwork. And it was just, to even think of needing to organize anything for it was a joke. And now I just kind of feel like I'm up to my eyeballs and like, okay, I really need to get a handle on a schedule and an organization method on how all of this stuff is going to be fitting into our day. But it will all work out. I will also just say that if you are, let's say, starting homeschooling for the first time or looking into the Charlotte Mason method, don't, I would say I encourage everybody to just jump in with both feet and take it and run with it and do your best. This is your job, really. And however, like Charlotte Mason, I'm reading a book about her life right now. And, she spent decades developing her philosophy and learning and teaching and growing and changing and all of these things. And she had a clear vision, which I think that we all do for our kids, on what we're wanting for them. Like that's why we're homeschooling in the first place. But each year is its own unique challenge. I'm just excited to start this year and see what happens, see what changes, and we'll just do our best. And I will report back to you what works and what does not work. If you have any organization tips that you want to leave in the comments, I and everybody else would greatly appreciate that. So please feel free to comment down below if you have some words of wisdom on organizing your homeschool year. Anyway, I just hope that y'all enjoy the rest of your summer, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.